All I have for you is a word. Tenet.
After a career spent exploring the concept of time, director Christopher Nolan finally tackles the subject head-on in Tenet, a film not just interested in timelines, but directly focused on them. It's a classic Nolan film in almost every way, packed tight with lofty ideas, impeccable set pieces, and pacey plotting, to the point that it's practically a comfort watch rather than exciting new ground. That sense of familiarity does breed some minor contempt, but in a world of franchise blockbusters, it's a welcome sight to see an original, ambitious idea on the big screen once more. Tenet is a concept film, not just in the ideas that it builds upon, but also in the way that those ideas smartly inform the story's structure. The key to that concept is time, both how it flows and how it can be manipulated according to this world's rules. Similar to the way in which Inception structures its heist format around the concept of dream layers rather than vault infiltration, Tenet's overall construction is directly linked to the inverted passage of time. The more you learn of how the world of Tenet works, the clearer you'll see the direction it is headed, which results in a satisfying journey for the audience. Also similar to Inception, Tenet pilfers pre-established ideas from espionage cinema and weaves them into its science fiction setting. This is a story involving shadowy agents, weapons traders, Russian oligarchs, and world-altering stakes. That Tenet relies so heavily on these aspects keeps its outlandish time concept surprisingly grounded. Both protagonists and antagonists feel like humans rather than lords of time. Further aiding that feeling is Nolan's approach to visual effects and action scene design. Much has already been made of the lack of computer-rendered effects at play, but that probably won't prepare you for how surprisingly low-key Tenet's action is. There's nothing particularly breathtaking that you could put next to rotating hotel corridors or space station docking, with Nolan instead opting for simpler vehicle chases and building bungee jumps. Even the already famous Boeing 747 sequence feels subdued, impressive more for its audacity than its on-screen results. These moments are all shot with the director's signature style. Expect his dynamic camera work, shadowy lighting, and muted colours. But this time around, there's more grit to the film's texture. Losing the gloss of his biggest films helps Nolan and cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema anchor Tenet's sci-fi concept in reality. It's when Tenet brings the camera close to its subjects, though, that its ideas really manifest into something special. One sequence involves leading man John David Washington fighting hand-to-hand, but his assailant is moving in reverse. This creates an oddly unsettling effect. The enemy combatant writhes and jerks in unnatural ways, making for something that's almost a militarized Twin Peaks scene. It's in sequences like this that Tenet's time concept is most impressive, rather than its reversed car crashes or time-synced explosions. But while Tenet frequently has very serious fun with its ideas, the time concept sometimes feels like it's working more in service of creating exciting visual spectacle than the story itself. It's not as neat as Inception's multi-layered dreams or Dunkirk's triple timeline. That one character says don't try to understand it almost feels like an admission of the film's struggle to clearly communicate its premise. Like with many films that explore time, it's difficult to fully make sense of how it all works. And while there's no arguing that Tenet doesn't feature an original plot, its reliance on impeccably dressed men chasing lofty mysteries does mean that it feels like it's retreading ground previously explored by its own director. It's near enough blood related to Inception, but you can also see elements of Memento and even the Dark Knight trilogy here. It's also accompanied by a score that sounds like Nolan-Zimmer collaboration 101, despite being composed by Ludwig Göransson. Unlike his recent evolving approaches, the terrifying tension of Dunkirk and the grand existentialism of Interstellar, Tenet almost feels like Nolan working as a franchise rather than an auteur. This also means Tenet struggles when it comes to characterization. Like much of his back catalogue, Nolan draws Tenet's characters in broad strokes. They're pieces in a plot-focused puzzle more than fully realised people. That John David Washington's character is never referred to by name throughout the entire 2.5-hour runtime is a good indication as to Tenet's priorities when it comes to characters versus narrative. This feels somewhat of a step back after the director's achievements with Interstellar, which finally demonstrated Nolan's chops for emotional humanity, and it works as a disservice to the astonishing talents of Washington and Robert Pattinson, who thankfully remain enjoyable leads that deftly navigate plenty of temporal exposition. There is some emotion to be found in Elizabeth Debicki as an estranged wife and mother, but despite an admirable performance and central role, she still feels more plot point than character. This isn't helped by the fact that Debicki's on-screen husband, Kenneth Branagh, is hamming it up as an almost comic book grade menace, complete with villainous Russian accent presumably found in a box of Cold War tropes. Tenet is not Christopher Nolan's masterpiece, but it is another thrilling entry into his canon. In a world where blockbuster cinema is dominated by franchises and sequels, it serves as an accomplished demonstration of the pleasures of unconnected and non-serialized original storytelling. But while it does tread new ground, Tenet is the safest film from Christopher Nolan in some years. Following 2 recent ambitious movies from the filmmaker, Tenet feels a little conservative, as if Nolan's style is a franchise rather than a framework. Despite this, it remains more interesting than most other tentpole movies and acts as a beacon for the director's strengths. In a time when cinema is struggling through arguably its most difficult time in its entire history, Tenet works as a fantastic reminder of what blockbuster filmmaking can aspire to be and why it's best experienced in a huge, dark room.